The tourism sector has been hit hard for the second consecutive year. The surge of coronavirus infections in the country, which provoked a total lockdown, has led to trip cancellations and significant loss of revenue.
Between April and June last year, we got around 1,010 tourists in all protected areas.
That is last year.
Yeah, between April and June. And if you compare June alone, rather between April and June we had around 1,040. June alone we had around 1,010, which means between April and June you had around 40, 30, and then the other all came in June. Now, this year we've got around 12,000 visitors in the month of June who have visited our protected areas. This is a huge difference, and if you look at the quota, for instance, between April and June, we've got around 38,000 visitors.
However, the current lockdown has not been as intense as the first one, in that the tourism sector has been allowed to operate. Nonetheless, the stringent guidelines and the domestic tourism ban have kept the huge numbers of potential local and foreign visitors away from the protected areas.
It is clear that it has largely affected local tourists because the conditions that have been set to follow, someone using a tourism registered vehicle, having negative PCR tests, and all these other requirements are not easy for locals really. Most of them have sat home and have complained that we have left them out.
UWA annually expects about 330,000 visitors to its protected areas.
It is through this tourism revenue that we are able to do conservation work. It is through this revenue that we are able to do animal translocation, monitoring, treatment, food rations for our rangers, uniform, salaries, mention it.
Whereas these numbers are encouraging compared to last year, it's like a drop in the ocean, says Bashir Hangi, the public relations officer at the Uganda Wildlife Authority. Most of the tourists that are keeping the sector afloat are mainly foreign nationals residing in Uganda and East Africans. As the country continues to vaccinate its population, UWA is making an appeal to the COVID-19 task force on the revival of domestic tourism.
People want to go and meditate with nature. They want to go out, and get out from the hustles and the bustles of the city. But they need to be supported by the National Task Force so that they are allowed, especially those ones who have the capacity. Because if, for instance, people can observe social distance in a vehicle, let's say a vehicle five-seater, and you are 3, and you are all negative, you are all fully vaccinated, you should be allowed to go and do tourism activities.
Uganda had set a 2020 target of attracting more than 2 million visitors to the country after achieving a milestone 1.6 million visitors in 2019. But the outbreak of the pandemic might have hampered the ambitious goal. Dennis Igoa for UBC News.